Hey people, I had a couple of Leeds Scotland fans want me to get more into that, and that's my favorite subject. That's what I'm going to. I'm just trying to backtrack through a bunch of these pages I opened while I was looking into that so I don't lose material. But as soon as I get back there, I'm going to show you an experiment that'll explain a lot of his writings and what he was trying to show, and I'm going to show everybody how to levitate. But this is going to be on the Greek and the Hebrew, the pharmacos, and the soothsayers. And I run into this in the Hebrew, and they called a soothsayer a moonin, Mounn, moonin. I said, oh, I've been a soothsayer before. But it was this, not there should be found among you who makes a pass through his son or his daughter the fire. That's what had me look more into this. So I looked over there in the Greek to see better what it meant about passing fire through your son or daughter. Because you see here the fire is P-U-R-Y, as in puree, to mash it down. And in Hebrew it was the bash, B-A-S-H, bash. That's how you puree something, you bash it down. But this is also, B is in ash, and S also means to burn it. But this SH could also be a SE, as in base, B-A-S-E, which is also, the alchemist would burn everything down to get to its base. And so, in ash was the god, the fire. It's also the base, the beginning, back to its base, its beginning. But it's also, it's the creator and the destroyer. The base in ace, A-S-E, in the first and in the last, the bash, in ash, to burn it up, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. So in the Greek, I noticed some differences in the Septuagint, some different spellings, and some more markings. And so I copied them all and put them on paint so we can look at them all side by side. So in the Greek, it's mostly they just left out these marks that add to or change the words. And down here they had to change some letterings in the words. But both of these still have a story in them. And so I'm going to read this polyglot first because it's got a good story even before you add the other words. But it starts with ouch, O-U-C-H, ouch. And that's an ancient word that means it hurts, ouch. And you can see it here, low, and it doesn't mean not, it means beware. You're low on fuel, beware. Low, what's the down low? Divine knowledge, what's the information on this? You better know what you're doing. It could be hot, it might hurt, ouch. So I'm going to start here on this page so I don't confuse as bad. But it's ouch. And then the wreath is it too. The W-R-E-T-H-E-S. The wreaths it too. And so they'll say this is having to do in the future. And that's because when it reads backwards it's yet. But we're not going to read that. But ouch, the wreaths it too. The wreaths it too is somebody dies, you put a wreath on their grave, and it hurts. It hurts when they die. The wreaths it too. In soi peri katharon, in, and then say, not so much you, but the say, what you heard, to say. Peri, around, the katharon. And so what this actually says is to catch, K-A-T-H-A-I-R, and around, catch air on, what you done heard around. The catch arrow, let's say it's coming from kata, according to an arrow, to demolish, destroy, to sieve, to sieve out the small fragments, or to achieve. And so, ouch, the wreath is it tie in, you around catch air on, the fashion. And so it hurts when you hear of the death, who caught the wreath on. And so this sons and daughters, it's vie on, to strive on, of two, and then WH, which then to gator. And so the son is a vion, is a strivon, and the daughter is a to gator. And this means to, through, and then the gate, and then Ra, the sun. And so the same as in the Hebrew, the words are never the same, and it's going to have markings that have you read this different ways. But the gator is the one standing at the gate and controlling the flow. When you flip a light switch, you're controlling the flow of electricity. And that's the to, the through, meaning to go through the gate. And so the gator is the one operating through the gate. And so when you come home, everything that ends with gator is things that come from your daughter. She's the instigator when you see the boys fighting. If you're going to have children, it's going to be the propagate, for P, to open a gate. The sons and the daughters, and the son has 4 wives, and so when he's going to open a gate, his the 4 open gate, propagate, he goes to one of the gates. And so the women are the gate, is the gate where the tree branches. At the gate. If this gate didn't open, there would be no branch here. You've been off on a long trip and you come home, and your daughter, she's the investigate. She wants to know where you been. How did the people dress? Did you meet anybody nice? They investigate. They're constantly questioning. And they fustigate. After been married too long, they criticize harshly. You big fat slob, you're laying on the couch, get out and cut the grass. And they extravagate, a gate to let out the extra of. And when they're little, they're just the tug-atters. They tugging at the bottom of your clothes. And so you never get the meaning of this word without looking at the Septuagint to see all the markings, because they even changed some of these words here to make it fit like this. But within the gator of to when puree is to beat all the information out of you into puree. And then the man, M-A-N, and then to, T-E-W, the man to shape. And then when you see this O in the middle of a word, especially lined up with 3 vowels, take that O as a of, as if it was sitting by itself between words. The man shape of men as. You're gonna take a man as the men as, and you're gonna to him. You're gonna shape him into the man that you want. The man to of men as, and then meant as an M-E-N-T, as in what was meant for them. Playing on words there. Is the man it meant they on. You're gonna shape the man from the men as to what meant they should have been, and one using oracles for divination. And then the clead to clee is to attach, and dawn is to give. To the attachment, give is of men as. The attachment, give is of men as. And to oi on. Oi is to draw attention to. Oi, over here. And to oi on, to call on, is of men as. The foretelling. And to call on is men as. And then this is the only Bible that has this pharmacos here. The other 2 Bibles will start this 11 here, and this pharmacos actually went with this word. It's actually spelt different in the other Greek, but it's the pharma and kos, the farm makers, not the administrators, but the farm makers. The farm make-os, the type of people that the farm make. Farm make-os. The paddin. The paddin is out in the pasture. It's still that same Don, to give and to give them a pad. A paddock is a small field or enclosure where the horses are kept. Their pad. And then Don, their pad to give. And so what it's saying is you're harboring, the pad on, the yard to give, the pad on the farm makers, giving them their position. And then the pay, and then of Iden. The pay of Iden, the pay is the face of hiding. But it's also the face of Iden. Iden are the moons at the Ides. The Ides are the first new moon of a given month. The Ides, the tides, which fell between the 13th and the 15th because they were counting the beginning on a full moon. And so the pay of Iden is also the face of hiding. There's the new moon on the Ides. You got no moon is hiding. The moon is out there with the sun and you can't see it. And the face of hiding is the pay of Iden. And they'll give this first G an and in the other Bible they just went ahead and switched it to and. But this is where your word angel comes from. E-N-G is spelled with two G's. In English also spelled with two G's. And it's the egg as trim with as. The egg is trim with this, or in, the EG is an in the gastry, in something inside of your digestion system. And the mythos, the myths that are just a bunch of gas, a bunch of hot air of gastry. But the myth, actually comes from the word mu, which was the ancient people. And so the mu collect, and then O's, the type of people who collect the ancient knowledge of mu, which was the egg as tree. The egg is 3, which is the same as the word for God when it says the ova, the egg. And so they're getting this delivers out of gastry, because this is the word they'll use when it says, and Mary was in the womb with child. The word would be gastry. And so in the gastry mythos, what are at of, W-T-E-R-A-T, what are at, and then of scopos, the scopos, the ones looking through the telescope, observers of signs, the scopos. And then the ferret on to us, and this isn't necros. If you read this necros because you don't know how to read this NE is a B, and it means in N-K-R-O-W-S, in crows. And so this ferret on, people used to hunt with ferrets. It's a ferret, and they use it for catching rabbits, but it's because they run in every crevice. They check every crevice. They don't leave nothing untouched. To ferreting is to search tentiously for and find something. To ferret. Asking. The ferret on to us in crows. To us in the symbol of life and death in crows. And many cultures consider the crows a portent of doom. A port, a place to pass through. And so you see this word, the omenos all through here, the omenos here and here and here. And it's of men as, it's the omen. And so it's talking about, how you're going to shape the man too. To shape the shape man, omen as. What the omen says he should be. The stars you were born under, what they say that you're supposed to do today. This is a dangerous day for you. You shouldn't leave the house. This is the day to invest money. It's your good day. It's your lucky day. The omen as. The man shape of men as. And the meant they in to what they were supposed to be. Oracles of divination. To looking into the cards. The cleed on to the attached on is omen as of men as. Attach on them what's because they were born, you're going to attach this quality on them, the cleed on, into oi on ism, the oi, to call attention to on ism. And the pharmacos, the pattern, giving them a place in your yard, and the face of hiding, and reading the moon. And that's where that word, the moon, and come from the other side that they had with soothsayers. But this is your soothsayers. Here it's backwards, S-O-T-H, the soothum. And you don't see it in here. But here it's in the gastry mythos, in the hot air myth as. What are at of the scopos? What are you seeing in the stars? And the ferret on. Somebody is on TV and they're reading fortunes and they're asking you questions and you're answering your own questions and don't even know it. The ferret on. To us in crows, in the foretellers of life and death, in crows. So this there shall not be found is ouch, the wreath it's to. And so when you put a wreath on your door at Christmas, it simply means that you're honoring the death of the sun. And this came from people who lived up here close to the Arctic Circle. And in Christmas, there come a time when you didn't have any sun. The sun didn't come up in the morning. You had a couple dark days. Depending on how close you live to the pole, how many fully dark days you have. And then the opposite. In the summer when the sun's up high, you're going to have 24-hour daylight here. So the wreath on the door at Christmas is in honor of the dead sun. And so there's a couple different stories here in the other Greek and in the Hebrew. And you see the mark here. This is reading O-X-U-X. And so now it's axe which. And axe which the wreath is it to, yet is it here. Ask which one is going to be dying, is yet to, is it here, in the future. And yes, it yet to is it here, and then it's not in anymore, but it's been, in cycle, in that time. The say peri catcher on, the say around catch air on, ton, and it on, and fashion, vi annoy. And so now you see a different word for your sun. It's V-Y, try, A-N-O-Y, annoy. The oi is to get attention. Like I showed lower, the oi means to get attention. And so it's to strive, to vie, annoy, on to get attention. And so the sun strives on to get attention. The vie, annoy. How annoy. And then the mark here again has to read this, and then the V and the line says the A again, V-A-U-O-T, vout. And vout is a crevice, is if you plow a ditch through the middle of your field, it's a vout. It's an empty space of vout, and then what of within to gator, within to gator. Within to gate, control the flow, to gate, to control the flow, raw first. About of a space, about what of been puree. And so puree is not much fire, is pure, to open to first work. To open to first work is pure. a virgin, the puri. And then these read the same here, but it's one. It's the man shape omen as meant they on. To shape the man to the omen, what the writing says he should be according to his birth date, or one using oracles for divination. And the Cleadon is men as, and attached to give is of men as, the attachment to give them as what they were supposed to be. And then this word is going to read different now. It's no longer the oi. It's two O-S-O-N, as on them, as in, and then turn here, O-N, on is omen as on them, as in, on is omen as the omen says it should be. And then the farm make us change here with an I in the line, so it's actually adding an I and an O. So it's the pharmakoios, but the koios is coming from the Greek Titan god of intellect, and it means to query, to ask. Koios meaning of what kind. And so it's not an administer of potions, but it's the farm, the potions of what kind. And then naughty, N-O-D-Y, and naughty, the apepa they don. The apepa, Pepsi, something gives you pep. And it's the naughty, the nasty apep, the Viagra's, something give you some pep. And naughty, the apep they don, they give. Naughty, the pep they give. And needy, N-H-D-Y, needy of a pep of Iden. They don't want nobody to know, they're needy of a pep of hiding. Sue the merits, merits, are a good mark, you did something right, you got a merit. And the sue the merits, so the sue the merits, so, and give, G, and then the N-E replaced with a B or a V, to carry in, or to give, G-V. And then this way you're just reading the N, and to give in. And the gastry mythos. And that's the same place where you were to jester come from, and to digest, the jester, to digest. That's what I'm doing to all this information. I'm putting it all together and getting a bite of it and try to digest it. And to sue the merits, so gave in the gastry mythos, and to digest from with as, to digest from with as. One who delivers the oracles, the one who's reading into it. And what are two? W-T, the what, and then E-R, they are. The what they are at of scopes, what they are at two of scopes. One's looking through the telescope at the stars. And then the wave has you move the N over. So this is reading not, but none. None to. And none to reap the ferret on. None to reap the ferret on. You're not going to get any information crawling through all of my crevices. I got nothing to hide. None to reap the ferret on. After crawling all through, you got nothing. To us in crows. To us in the knowledge of the crows. And let me go back up here. I seen I missed the oi here. As on in them, as in oi, as in call attention. The oi on is. To call attention on is omens. And so over here in the Hebrew, hopefully this will go faster. And so this just tells a totally different story. And it's the low, and then backwards, AX. And the little mark here tells me to read it the other way. So it's the low axe, and then AIM. The low axe, aim, and then two M's and a T. To aim mit, to aim with, and then the X is a TSSMY. The low axe aim with shame. And then VT, the shame of it. Final K is a T here. And it means to enfold what comes back, but it's the shame of it. The shame, is what their name. And so the low axe in aim, I'm going to cut your dick off, you mess with my daughter. The low axe in aim with shame of it. From over. MOVIR. From over. In new. BNNU. In new. And then backwards. What in of it to? What in of it? In new. In what in of it to? Bash. And so bash is also a word for smashing, for hitting that ass, and a low axe aim with its shame of it. From over in new, what in of it to bash. The daughter's not supposed to know how to bash. The low axe aim it to. And this is reading FS, FMSS. The Fesfems, Fessum is. The Fesfems, Fessum is. Who's talking? Who's fessing them? Who's Fesfems? The fest of the women's Fessum is. Moonin'. And this is actually read the moon, and you see other places it's the moon and is, but it's the MOWN and cycle, and it's pronounced the moonum, but it's the moon cycle. And the Fesfems Fessum is the moon cycle. The women all know about the moon cycle. And from nose, NHS. NH is the Hebrew spelling for Noah. And you can believe when you see the NH, the H pronounces an O after the N. And from nose, Gnostic. And from nose to from cash R, the casher. And from nosum casher, the cashier, the one collecting the money. Which of her have her? The use of, U-S-E, and then A-L, the use of. The use of boob, and a little mark above the B says, reading this backwards, B-U-A, and then the B again, the boob. The boob is in connected knowledge in. Your boobs hurt when it's fixing to rain. The women just have this knowledge of the cycles of the moon that men don't have. Of the Houdini, the Y is the how or who, and it's to the hand, and then don, D-O-N, to give, to the hand give, to the hand take, and then the final I is ing, taking, to whodawning, who's receiving. Address, one who calls, U-D-R-S, address. And in the Greek they'll say, the doors is the gift of God, with many other words. And to address of, reads backwards, A-L or la, of, to address of, mit, withum, mitum, withum, emit is, to come out of, to address, to call of, mit, with, from, them, with, is. The ones that are here with us. With, mitum, with them, with, is. Mit, them, mit, is. Them, with, is. Emit, is. What comes out of the spirit world. And so this soothsayer, this moon cycle, it's the move, M-O-V, the move when, and the move when cycle. And it's named for the cow, in Egypt. The cow was the moon, and it's the moo. And that's because they would have elections on when it was time to move. And they move in cycle. You know, it's always the same. Comes around every 19 years. So I'm a little closer to getting back to Ed Lee's skull, and I'm going to close out a couple of these pages I had open and see what else I have to put in memory before I get there. But it's going to be a good one. You don't want to miss it.
Don't forget. Hooty hoot, hooty hoot. I won't forget.
Alright, I'm going to cut this off here. Good day.